Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Book Gentlemen, the podcast where we use our decades of being giant nerds to discuss the most divisive issues in the comic book fandom. I'm your host, Greg, joined always by Dave.
Hey, everybody.
So we are here today. Dave, a couple of episodes ago, we reviewed a series known as Avengers No Road Home.
Yes.
And we kind of, in general, decided it's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, for the most part.
We did agree
Yes.
there was one standout, and that was Al Ewing on Hulk.
Yes.
And funny story, Al Ewing on Hulk continued on
in
the Immortal Hulk. Mm-hmm. So I thought we both sat down and read it. I know you read you're way farther than I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, you convinced me to check it out, and I immediately was like, "This is amazing." So what we thought we would do with this podcast is one, we'd go over kind of our history with the Hulk, what we've liked in the past, and what we've disliked and whatnot, and then we can kind of move it forward into the Immortal Hulk and talk about like why is it so good, why should people pick it up, and go forward from there. So Dave, what is your history with the Incredible Hulk?
Goes back to the old Lou Ferrigno TV series. That was the first, probably my first following of the Hulk. Like I've probably seen the Hulk here and there and in pictures and comic books and whatnot, but I started there, and then from there actually I never really touched on or collected the Incredible Hulk until probably, I want to say it was probably about volume 4 or something like that. And I picked up a couple issues and I kind of liked it. Was Ron Garney was doing the art at the time. It was kind of interesting, so I read a couple issues and just kind of started following it from there. And then, obviously followed it through the various, lines that we've seen, Planet Hulk, the World War Hulk, and now where we are with the Immortal Hulk. And it's had its ups and downs.
Yeah, it's had its moments. It's interesting because I feel like the Hulk is like one of those characters where everybody agrees he's cool, but you never really find anybody who's like, no, the Hulk's my number one. Or have you ever run into anybody who's like, Hulk's my number one? One guy, yeah.
One guy.
Who's that?
Yeah. A friend of mine from high school. He hated comic books. It wasn't just he just wasn't a comic book guy. But for some reason, he collected the Incredible Hulk. That was his jam. That was his thing. He loved the Incredible Hulk. Couldn't stand any other comic book like X-Men, Spider-Man. Didn't matter what you put in front of him. He was like, no, I'm not going to read that.
That's interesting. I wonder what that is.
Yeah, only guy I know.
Yeah. See, like I said, like I feel like everybody likes the Hulk though, because like it's such a like what's that fantasy? What's that called? Where it's like I forget the term. Fulfillment fantasy.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Where it's just like you're a tiny little nerd, but the second you get angry, you can blow up the whole planet. Type of thing.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like every kid was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be the Hulk. Like let's go." Like I remember, I don't know what my first experience with the Hulk was. Is this one of those things where it's like he was just always there? Like there was that terrible movie in the early 2000s by I don't remember the director's name. It was really bad though.
Ang Lee.
Ang Lee, yeah. I remember. I was a kid, so it was like, oh, explosions, I'm there, type of thing. So I remember having a good time with that. But then you go back and watch it, it's like, man, what a dumpster fire that was.
There were aspects of it that were cool, and again, it was like one of those like first kind of. It was right around the same time of all those firsts as far as movies coming out. So when it came out, it was like, wow, the Hulk. Yeah. And it just had its bit of flavor that was just neat to see the Hulk, properly on the big screen, even though it was, a bit of a trash movie.
Yeah, might have been a little bit bad. And then I think right when I started getting into comic books is when World War Hulk was happening. So I remember hearing about it. Obviously my big thing was I was in the Ultimate Universe, so that I wasn't 100% in 616 and following that along. Yeah. But then the one 616 I did read was Ghost Rider, and then they had the World War Hulk Ghost Rider crossover.
Yeah.
And I remember that issue being super cool. And so I was like, oh man, Ghost Rider versus Hulk, and it was a sick throwdown. And then Ghost Rider was about to win, but then it was like, oh, but the Hulk's innocent, so that's why he got away and all this stuff. And you're like, whoa, what? So then I remember that made me want to read World War Hulk. But then I was reading World War Hulk, and it was all about Planet Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, you had to read Planet Hulk in order to read World War
Yeah,
Hulk. So I was like, okay, let me go read Planet Hulk. I honestly think Planet Hulk is in my top 10 of all-time favorite storylines. Like, it's one of those, like, if I had to recommend it to somebody, hey, you know, check out Planet Hulk. I had a great time with it. I think Greg Pak was a great Hulk writer.
Yes.
But I feel like he was great at writing the Hulk and not good at writing Bruce Banner.
Right.
Which is really evident when you look at World War Hulk and Planet Hulk, because it literally it had Bruce Banner in it for like one issue, and the rest of it was just the Hulk.
Yeah, get out of the way.
Like, again, it's one of those things where it's like everybody knows the story of the Hulk. You know, like Bruce Banner, he's sad because when he gets angry, the sad music from the Lou Ferrigno show, he walks away type of thing. Mm-hmm. So I feel like my favorite part of Hulk was when he hulked out. Yeah. So that's why I felt like Planet Hulk was such a good Hulk storyline, because it was literally, you had just the Hulk, none of this Banner crap, and then he was in an area where people could actually compete against him. Mm-hmm. So it was just really cool that he was like not the strongest and not like the undefeatable Hulk. It was like, he's still the Hulk, still great, but then he could bleed and he could falter. And then it turned into this grand storyline of rebellion and him just trying to do his own thing while other people are trying to use him as a chess piece and whatnot. Yeah. And it was just a really cool storyline, and then just ends with, he's happy, and of course whenever the Hulk is happy or Bruce Banner's happy, then stuff blows up and he has to leave type of thing. Yeah. And then hard hit into World War Hulk.
Yeah. I would have to say my earliest real good comic book memory was the McFarlane cover of Wolverine with his claws out, and you could see the reflection of the gray Hulk at the time in his claws, and that was actually my first introduction really to McFarlane at the time.
That's cool.
And he did such an amazing job on that stint. And I remember picking up. I wasn't a big Hulk fan at that point. I didn't collect the comic, but I picked up a lot of the run of when he was the Gray Hulk, Mr. Fix-It. Because I just love the fact that he was like not as strong as he used to be, but now he's like smart and cunning and kind of dirty to a little bit. And one of the epic fights they had in that series was when the Thing, who was all jacked up at that point, he had spiky skin instead of flat rock skin, and he was now stronger than the Hulk. It was this fight between them, and the Hulk realizing, okay, I can't take him one-on-one. I'm gonna have to outthink him, and he did. And and of course, being a huge Spider-Man fan, when he got kind of hired to deal with Spider-Man, but Spider-Man had been blessed with the cosmic power, so he became Captain Universe, and he punched the Hulk into the orbit. There was a lot of my earliest memories of the Hulk, as far as a comic book, were actually gray. Was when he was Mr. Fix-It. And then I remember a friend of mine who collected the Hulk. He talked a lot about the Peter David era, where he really got into that, like you said, with the Bruce Banner thing kind of being ignored by Pac. He really dived into that, like broke out the personas and just really took the Hulk in a different direction, which I think was always like the Hulk's kind of like, oh, he's a big tough guy that accidentally stumbles across some bad guys. And there just really was never a good story there, in my opinion. Yeah. It was just Hulk beat up everybody. Yeah. And that was it.
And then walk away sadly.
Peter David came along and just changed the whole narrative. And then when he combined for the first time, the Hulk and Banner personas were now one, and you got the Smart Hulk. He took it in such a different direction. But unfortunately, then after he left, it just kind of went bleh again. And then until Greg Pak came along, and I think Greg Pak did an amazing job of, like, you want to see Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get rid of puny Banner and just Hulk the hell out of
Hulk the hell out of him.
And from that era, I think my favorite moment in all of his work was when I believe it was the first issue of World War Hulk, when he lands on the moon and he encounters a Black Bolt. Yeah. And Black Bolt kind of lets go a word which just shatters and destroys everything. And his comment is, I didn't come here to hear you whisper. I came here to hear you scream. Yeah. And I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be something else. Yeah. And it was such a great series. And then unfortunately after he left, it kind of fell flat again.
Yeah. Because I feel like what happened after Greg Pak left, they tried to broaden the Hulk family like they had his son Scar, which was like the problem with that one is it really felt like it took away from Planet Hulk, because that was such a big impact, was that his wife and kid died, but then it's like, oh no, never mind, he's alive. It's like, oh, okay. And then you had, I mean, I thought the idea of Thunderbolt Ross becoming the Red Hulk was interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting run. Mm-hmm. It was okay. You know, like it had that bit of intrigue, like who is this guy? You know, it's not Bruce Banner. It's who is it? Yeah. And you know, they played that out for a little while. I was a little disappointed when they got to the end of it and it was like finally revealed who it was, and it was Thunderbolt Ross. I was a little disappointed with that. Yeah. But you know, it was an okay run. I think it was more what got me into that was the art of Ed McGuinness. Did a great job.
And then like I guess at one point Betty Ross became the Hulk, which I didn't really like. She was the Red She-Hulk or whatever. Like, She-Hulk, I never read that. I just kind of heard about it. Yeah. It just felt like they kept trying to broaden it. Yeah. And then the Hulk, you know, I mean most superheroes at this point have died 50 times. Yeah. And then came back. So the Hulk got a lot of press in Civil War II. Yes. Because Bruce Banner was on doing his own thing like normal, but then in Civil War II there's a big story point in which spoilers for Civil War II, I guess. Well, don't read it, but like,
don't listen to this podcast if you don't want spoilers.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I'm throwing it out. I mean, you shouldn't read Civil War II anyways. But that's a whole different podcast. There's a big story point where somebody has a vision that Hulk's gonna Hulk out. Yeah. And so so Captain Marvel's like, hey, we gotta stop this, and then Tony's like, no, calm down. Meanwhile, it turns out that Bruce Banner made a deal with Hawkeye to kill him because he made like a special thing. Yeah. So then Hulk is dead again for the 50th time. But then Avengers, what's the one before No Road Home?
No Surrender.
No Surrender happens, and he gets resurrected. Yeah. And then so now we're at the point where Al Ewing comes into the picture, and Al Ewing is like, okay, I'm gonna take the Hulk. He's been resurrected a million times. I'm gonna run with that. And now you have a new Hulk called the Devil Hulk. So this is where we get into the Immortal Hulk. We're gonna get into spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear spoilers, I've only read up to volume 3 of the graphic novels, or issue 15 if you're a single issue type of person like Dave. So that's where we're gonna talk up to, because I don't want to hear spoilers past that. But if you don't want to hear spoilers at all, we highly recommend you go check out Immortal Hulk, and then if you want to understand why we recommend that, then keep listening. We'll tell you. Absolutely. So Immortal Hulk, man, what a interesting comic. Yeah, because and for Marvel, like, so the main thing that'll pique anybody's interest about this is a horror comic. Like the amount of terrible things they do to his body, and like other people's bodies, like the amount of terrible crap they do, and like even just the art in general. Like when it's the art in general. And it's not a scary moment, everybody still looks creepy. You still have this like uneasy sense. Yeah. So the Immortal Hulk is resurrected once more, and he's at the point now where he's back to his roaming ways of, I gotta go town to town, the government's chasing me, or people don't even know I'm alive, so I'm just roaming, but then when I Hulk out, shit happens. But the way he Hulks out now isn't I get angry, he gets murdered. So when Bruce Banner dies, the Hulk will come out, but only for the night. Yeah. Like he can't do it during the day, only for the night. So you have this like such an interesting twist to the story now. Right. Because you're so used to just, I'm angry now, blah. And but now it's like, but now you have this other twist to it. So like, what was your initial reaction to that?
I was confused because I started reading it, right off the hop. It gets into the nitty gritty of, what's happening. And I was not only taken back by the kind of like, okay, he came back. Okay, I got that because that's been kind of seen before, where Banner gets hurt very badly and the Hulk will eventually basically heal him. Yeah, he'll regenerate.
A la like Ragnarok when he hits the bridge.
Yeah. So like, so that part at reading the first issue, that didn't surprise me. Okay. It was the what he did. Yeah. It was the going after the biker gang. Yeah. And then just the way the characterization of him was just like, this guy is not nice at all.
Well, so one of the things that I noticed that I found kind of interesting is like they portray him, like, they even call him the Devil Hulk. and it is a way different Hulk than the traditional Hulk.
Yeah.
But like he doesn't actually kill anybody. Like the only people he has killed so far since I've read is the people who have trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And then he just retaliates. But even the biker gang, I don't think he kills the biker gang. I think he just broke them all up and then taught them a lesson.
Yes.
And then just walked away type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was just like
he's very vindictive and like sadistic.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Like
it's not a murderer like crazy, out of control.
Blow everything up.
Yeah, kind of thing. He's just like, how can I, like the first guy that he has that conversation with, and the guy even tries, like, I like the fact that they, instead of just going, oh, he goes after the bad guy, gets the bad guy, teaches bad guy a lesson. Yeah. It was like he goes, catches the bad guy's actually not a bad guy. Bad guy's actually trying to do things because he's in trouble and he's just in a bad spot, and he's actually seems like a pretty decent human being. Other than that, he's got a family and a kid, and the Hulk's like, yeah, you should have thought of that before this happened. And then he breaks every bone in his body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
it's like it's such a different take on the Hulk. Because even like you said, like we've seen Mr. Fix-It where he's like full hero, and we've seen regular Hulk where it's just a idiot the child Hulk, angry idiot, and then you see Planet Hulk where he's like a gladiator warlord type of Hulk and type of thing. So this is such a different take on it because this is such a like vindictive, not savage, but vindictive, justice wanting Hulk type of thing. Like it's so interesting. So the story goes is that people aren't sure if the Hulk's actually back and whatnot, and then so he's trying to go around, but then he starts hearing about other Gamma people having issues, and then you start hearing. So like the first one he really deals with is Sasquatch. Yeah, and again, even when it's not Hulk on screen, the way they drew Sasquatch was terrifying. Like when he was a human. Yeah. It was like, whoa, you're creepy, dude.
Bennett just, like, I've seen Bennett's work before, and he's done good work in other comics. This is just, he took it to a whole new terrifying, ugly level. Like, it's just like the actual, like, not just the look of him, like the look in the Hulk's eyes terrifies me.
Yeah.
The way he draws it. And what really set it apart was, instead of just, oh, I'm turning green, I get bigger and I go, it absolutely is like somebody just was like halfway through making the Hulk out of Play-Doh. Yeah. It is just disturbing.
Like he's like, his limbs are everywhere. He's like melting and stuff.
And just,
it's so weird.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then like, Sasquatch is so savage and whatnot. And so what you kind of start finding out in the story is it's like, you have the Hulk, but then you have so many Gamma people that have cropped up over the decades. And then like all the Gamma people are starting to react weird suddenly. And so that's kind of where the story starts progressing is Bruce Banner / the Hulk is like, okay, something's going on with Gamma. I'm the Gamma guy. Yeah. So let me start roaming around. And then you also have Captain Marvel start Gamma Flight out of Alpha Flight. So then Sasquatch, Puck, and they randomly get
a depowered Sasquatch.
A depowered Sasquatch because the Hulk takes away his Gamma. And then you also have, while this is going on, you also have Bruce's dad start cropping up as well, which I thought was really, really interesting. Because it's one of those things where it's like Hulk has been around for so long, and there's so much history to the Hulk and whatnot. But when you really start getting into the nitty gritty of what the Hulk is that it's basically a multi-personality disorder created through abuse from his father. Yeah. So when you start thinking about it in that context, that's, I feel like, really what drives the whole Devil Hulk home and whatnot. Is it's like he's vindictive because he was like raised to be vindictive and whatnot. So it starts, you get this storyline where it's like Bruce is trying to figure out what's going on with Gamma and also dealing with his daddy issues in a cool way. I mean, that sounds really weird, but it's actually really interesting. And then you start getting into some weird stuff by volume 2. So you have this thing called the Green Door. Where basically, and it's interesting because I don't know if this is in the regular.
Just with that, I think going back to the first few issues, like just the throwback to the dad was shocking even for myself, because at first I thought, like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, it kind of looks like Bruce Banner, but with a mustache. Like maybe it's like an evil Bruce Banner kind of thing. And then I was like, oh no. And when we got into his like dad, and it was like that was a throwback to like the Peter David writing. And I was like, oh my god, like we're gonna get back into this. Like what the hell is his dad's alive? How is his dad alive? How is he a persona? What the hell? Like it was such a neat throwback to that era of writing. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And what was even better is, you know, and I won't get into it right away, but where he took it.
Yeah.
Because instead of me going, oh, okay, he's going to fight his dad, deal with his dad. No, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah. It's very interesting because, like you start hearing about this green door and the one below all and all this stuff, and you're like, what's going on? And then like I said, I wasn't sure if this is in the single issues, but like Al Ewing constantly put Bible quotes and whatnot. Yes. So then you're starting to get this like religious aspect to it, and you're like, what is happening? And then they're talking about the devil, because again, it's the devil Hulk, so all this stuff. Also while this is happening, you also have a reporter trying to like uncover like, you know, the Hulk's alive, what's he doing, all the stuff, named Jackie McGee, I believe it is. And it's she has a very interesting story as well, because she is somebody on the outside looking in, and you know, she ran into the Hulk as a kid, and she looked at the Hulk, and instead of going, man, I'm pooping my pants right now, I mean she probably was, but now she's also like, I want that. And then it's like, one of the things I thought was really cool about this was they have this conversation about the the fantasy of being the Hulk. Because again, like when you're a kid, you're like, I just want to get angry and just punch my house down. Like when your mom takes away your Game Boy or something, it's like, rip my shirt off, you know, type of thing. But then you have the Devil Hulk talking to Jackie. It's like, you don't want this.
No.
Like this is hell. Like the only reason the Hulk exists is because Bruce had such a terrible life and such a and like I take care of Bruce. Because this is the only thing keeping Bruce going along right now. And it's like such an interesting conversation, because it wasn't just conversation between two characters. It was also Al Ewing having a conversation with the readers about, you don't want this. Like the Hulk isn't supposed to be what you want.
And I didn't see that direction coming from her. Like as you're reading about her, I thought it was more of a like you know, kind of like that train wreck kind of thing. Like you can't look away. You know, like my family lost everything. I have this horrible experience with the Hulk, but you know, it's like I kind of got this feeling it was going to be like I'm facing my fear kind of thing. But then to find out it's like, no, not actually. I want to face my fear. It's like, I want to be you. And it's like, what? Where did that come from?
Where did that come from? Because they portrayed us so scary and whatnot. It's like, why would anybody want to be that? But then when you start thinking, I was like, of course everybody wants to be that. But then you start in the nitty gritty. It's like, nobody wants to be this. This is psycho. But then she also mentions, the idea of like Bruce Banner versus the Hulk as well, where Bruce Banner is constantly reaccepted into society every time he blows up the planet. Like you had like Planet Hulk, he got shot out to space. He comes back in World War Hulk, almost murders every superhero, but then they're like, we're friends again. And like you had almost this subcontext of racial tension, where it was like, because Jackie McGee is African American, and she's like, you know, you have this, you know, you're middle class white male, so no matter what the hell you do, you're welcome back with open arms. But you know, anybody else would do that, and they're shot in the head or whatever. So I thought that was another interesting conversation to have with this. It's like surprisingly deep. Like it's one of those things where it's like, you see,
catches you off guard.
It catches you off guard because all you're expecting is just like, you know, you expect the Hulk, but then it's like, oh, it's creepy Hulk. Okay, I expect creepy Hulk, but then it's like, oh, daddy issues / racial tension / you know, all this other stuff. So it's so interesting.
And I thought they've done an interesting job of like it's based in a superhero universe, right? So I mean, you're looking at a horror thing and you're going, okay, how are you going to bring in Sasquatch and make it horror? Oh God, what did you do? What did you do?
He's terrifying.
He's terrifying. You know, and then you're bringing in these other elements that are either, you know, from Hulk lore or just, you know, general Marvel lore, and you're still questioning like, okay, how are they gonna bring that? How is he gonna fight regular supervillains? How are you gonna make that part of the story? And he does such a good job, I thought, of just bringing in these characters in a different way that kind of made you go, oh, okay. And then kind of still fed into the story, and it's so deep and there's so many layers of where you think it's going one way, like I said with the reporter, you know, and then it just switches gears, goes a different direction, you know, and you're like, what?
Yeah, didn't see that coming at all. And it was still interesting. And it wasn't just like a gimmick surprise. No. It was actually like an in-depth conversation, like, you know, this is why type of thing. And then so the story progresses. Like, he's roaming the land again. trying to find. And so then he's also getting attacked by a new government group, Shadow Base. Shadow Base. So I mean, apparently it's like a protege of Thunderbolt Ross. So you get the shout out to Thunderbolt to Hulk history. And then he gets captured at one point, which is great.
And leading up to that, he takes on the Avengers.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that.
The new Avengers group with Ghost Rider and everything else.
Yeah.
And the first thing he does is punches out Thor.
Yeah.
And Thor's like literally getting up, getting helped up, and he's like, I've never been hit that hard by the Hulk before. Like, it was just like, oh, where is this going? And it was, he's just laying them all out.
Oh yeah,
ripping the arms off of the Hulkbuster armor for like, it was a great fight.
Like, that's how good this series is that I forgot he fought the Avengers, because there's so many other cool things that happen. Like, he literally, like, the only way they're able to beat him is Tony Stark literally shoots him from the moon. And
it's like just some kind of, whatever it was, some kind of sunlight laser thing that just blasted him into nothing, or so they thought. And then he wakes up, as to your point, he gets captured by Shadow Base, and how he wakes up.
Oh yeah, he is dismembered. So you hard cut from this like epic battle from the Avengers, and you're like, man, the Hulk's taking them out, all this stuff, and then just hard cut to his head floating in a jar.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
And all of his parts.
All his parts. You have his arm, you have his leg, and then he's still alive.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part, is he's still alive. So you have Shadow Base start experimenting on him, but then the way he escapes was amazing.
Yes.
Like, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, it's just he's having a conversation with the scientist who's overly confident.
Yeah, overly confident.
You're cut into pieces. What are you going to do? You can't do nothing. We're going to study you till the end of time, and this is going to be great. And he's talking the whole time. You get this sense, like, and again, just the way Bennett drives his face, it's just like, oh god, he's got something up his sleeve, and then he snaps his finger.
Yeah.
And shatters all of the jars, and then his body starts to reform.
Yeah.
And in that reform, he just absorbs the scientist who's trying to escape and push like the panic button and can't get there. And he just, I don't even know what that is. It reminded me of like the movie like The Blob or something. It just ate him.
It just ate him. Like, he would have just been crushed inside his body. Like, that's so messed up.
Oh.
Like, imagine being Banner the next day going, what the hell did I eat? Like, what is this? It was so bad.
It was so good.
Yeah, and like, so he escapes, and then he's like getting his visions from his father, and he's like, okay, I gotta go home. And home to him isn't his childhood home, which is, again, it's one of those things you think he's just gonna go to his childhood home, but what he really means is where the Hulk was created. So you go to ground zero of the giant gamma bomb. But then the Absorbing Man shows up. So Shadow Base forces the Absorbing Man to come help them. Because what they want to do is have the Absorbing Man absorb all his gamma radiation, depower him a little bit, and then they have a weird sniper guy take him out.
Solid plan.
It works every time. But like, so the fight between Hulk and Absorbing Man, like, it seemed like the Absorbing Man was doing okay at first.
It did, yeah.
But then again, there's something wrong with gamma power right now.
Yeah.
And then you have this terrifying scene where the Absorbing Man splits in half.
Yes.
And there's just a spine with a skull. And you're just like, what am I looking at? Like, it was awful. And again, it was just one of those situations where you're just like, this is a superhero comic? Like, what is this?
Yeah, like, he's just split in half. He's just drained the Hulk to the point where the Hulk looks like emaciated and thin and frail. And he just splits in half, and the skull's talking to him. And I remember reading that, and I'm like, and meanwhile Puck's there with a gun, and I'm like, where is this going?
So you have Puck, Sasquatch, Jackie McGee, Absorbing Man, Hulk, and then this random sniper guy. Do you know who the sniper guy is from Shadow Base?
Yes.
Like, they reveal him later?
Yeah.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if he was like an old Hulk nemesis, or he is somebody new?
Yeah.
Okay,
no, not new. Just a character that they will.
Okay, so I'll have to get there. So they're all there, and then something. So because they're at ground zero of where the Hulk was created, they get blasted into another dimension.
Yes.
They literally take the Hulk to hell.
Yes.
They bring them to hell. So to me, this is like the story was great. A lot of creepies. This is when I was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Because like this is when they start taking Hulk lore and just turning it on its head and adding new elements without taking away from it. So
Absolutely.
what they basically tell you is like Gamma is science, but it's also magic.
Yeah.
So you have this.
It's like an entity.
It's an entity
It's
in
a
itself.
thing that's not just measured by numbers.
No.
and science.
Like there's like I mean it's one of those things where it's like you give comics a lot of leeway to do weird things, and like especially when they first started like the 60s and 70s, they would do some of the weird they would just throw stuff against the wall and didn't care if it just happened. So like it's always funny when you have comics nowadays try to address that, because it's like, how do you address all this random crap the Hulk has done for decades, and to think about the idea of like, oh, it's science magic, and then you just go like, huh, okay, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Like everything, like one
Like
explanation.
if somebody came to you and tried to explain that, the sun rising with science and magic, you'd be like, you're nuts.
You're nuts.
But and this worked.
It worked perfectly fine, and like it really justified a lot of the stuff that's happened throughout the years and whatnot.
Yeah.
So then you're in this gamma hell. There's you had a bunch of like weird like dead people / like skeleton things and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you had like Rick Jones, his old psychic, and then you had Jackie McGee's dad, which I thought was really interesting. And then
Thunderbolt Ross showed up.
Oh yeah, he did show up for a little bit,
and then he turned into the like Devil Red Hulk.
Yeah, something cool. And then you also had his dad, Bruce Banner's dad there, which I actually don't know his name. I'm assuming it's Brian Banner.
Yeah, Brian Banner.
What's the bees? And then he's there, and he has Bruce Banner captured in like this glowing light, but then the Devil Hulk is separate with Jackie McGee, and this is where they had the conversation about like, you don't want this is garbage, don't do this.
And meanwhile, also you got Puck and an Absorbing Man are there as well. So they're just kind of separated from the other two.
So what do you know about Puck?
What do I know about Puck? I know Puck. I know Puck from Alpha Flight days. Essentially, slightly enhanced strength. Okay. Mostly, the thing with him is like just super agility.
Oh, okay.
Super agility. But the character was always like, I believe he's also a mutant.
Okay.
But he's always just been that character that was just like there.
Yeah.
Like
kind of a joke character almost.
Yeah, kind of sort of, not like just not a character that was ever big. Like even reading through some of the old Alpha Flight comics, like Vindicator and Sasquatch, and they have some interesting characters there, and then it was like, oh right, Puck's there.
Well, so this had this one line where Puck's talking to Creel, Absorbing Man, and Absorbing Man's like, what the hell's happening? I'm so sorry this happened, my bad. But then Puck's like, hey, I'm like this demigod type. I fought gods. I've been the king of hell and all this stuff. And he's just telling all this stuff about what his past. I'm like, I gotta read Puck right now. Like I was just like, one sentence. I was like, I gotta read Puck right now.
It was not as interesting as he pitched.
No, okay. Like he sold me. I was like, you go write me a Puck book. I'll go read it. But I was like, what is happening? So you have kind of two fronts going on where the giant green gamma evil shows up and then starts just throwing gamma monsters at the Hulk and all of them, and then the good guys are trying to get up to where Bruce Banner's dad is to get Banner, or no, so I guess Hulk is trying to get his gamma powers back, because basically like Absorber Man absorbed it all, and then the evil guy is trying to use it to like take over the world or something like that.
So he's basically cracked open the door. He's now absorbed all of these major gamma radiated superheroes, supervillains, kind of everybody. Cracked open this door, and the whole point was this quote unquote Banner's father is trying to like possess his body so that he can go back into the real world, and now he is Banner. Yeah,
so classic like devil trying to get to the other side type of thing. So really cool. But gamma.
Gamma.
So then you have like so all these gamma monsters start showing up. Rick Jones turns into Abomination and starts
Yeah.
fighting with the Hulk, but then he gets torn to shreds, and then eventually Hulk gets his powers back, and then just like
in the coolest way too.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
the Absorbing Man comes over, sucks out the basically the gamma radiation, and then just blasts it into him.
Yeah.
And just supercharges the Hulk.
Yeah, and then the Hulk just goes mental, and then they manage to break free of the one below all type of thing. So, and then now you're back into the real world. Hulk's still like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, it's Bruce Banner when you get back. Bruce Banner's like, what the hell just happened? And then you start finding out, like, Thunderbolt Ross is dead again.
Yep.
For, like, the millionth time. Again. He's only been around for, like, whatever. So Bruce Banner's like, you know what? I want to go hang out with Betty because I'm sad. And but Betty kind of knows, like, she's getting tracked by Shadow Base and whatnot. So then this random sniper dude, which I don't know who he is, tries to take out, like, even though Shadow Base told him not to, tries to take out Bruce because he's like, man, I was in hell. You don't understand, man. Like, this shit's crazy.
Gotta get done.
This shit's crazy. So then he tries shooting Bruce, but ends up hitting Betty.
Yes.
So Betty dies. So Hulk goes nuts.
Yeah.
Tries to kill. So like, he actually reverts a little bit back to regular Hulk, like just pure rage, psycho Hulk. Smash Hulk tries to kill the sniper guy, but then Doc Samson shows up. So I actually don't know who's Doc Samson.
Doc Samson, the little bit of experience I have with him was always the guy that the Hulk went to when he had, not always just like issues, like in the sense of like, hey, can you come and help me beat up this bad guy?
Yeah.
He also had issues, like he was the one that helped Bruce Banner work through becoming Smart Hulk.
Oh, okay.
Like brokering the deal between the Hulk and Bruce Banner so that he could become Smart Hulk.
Yeah.
You know, or Professor Hulk or whatever you want to call him. So he's that guy. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how he got gamma irradiated, but he's got those gamma powers too. You know, I always thought he was kind of a goofy looking character.
He looks
like,
really...
I got gamma powers, and all it did was turn my hair green.
Yeah,
but
and I got six pack.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because like you have such horror body image art and whatnot, but then Doc Samson is the only one that actually looks like he's a comic book character. He's just like, he has this like cheesy costume and he's like flowing green hair, like da 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 da, that type of thing. Exactly. So it's pretty good. So Doc Samson stops Hulk from killing Sniper Guy, but then finds out Betty's dead. So he's like, oh shit, I should have let you kill the guy.
Oops.
So then Devil Hulk starts taking control again. And then you start having this conversation between because Doc Samson's like, okay, which one are you?
Yeah.
Like, who are you? And then Devil Hulk starts going into details, like, you know, I'm the one that, you know, Banner was the most afraid of. I was the one that, you know, he buried deep down. But I'm also the one that took care of him the most. I'm also the one that loves him the most and whatnot. Yeah. And, like, this deep psychological love-hate thing. And I was just like, holy... Like, I was just like, what an interesting ass Hulk. Like, this is so cool. So then they're walking along and whatnot, and then you think they're going after Betty, but then they end up at Rick Jones's grave, and guess what? The grave is empty. Yeah. So that's where I left off at. Yeah. So you're basically at this point now where, again, you're just at the point where anybody who's been anywhere near Gamma is just like coming back from the dead, or their powers are going haywire, or, you know, they're murdered again, or something like that. Like all this crazy stuff. I'm volume 3, 15, and I'm sold. I'm like, I want to read all of them right now. Is it done yet, or is it still going? Or?
No, it's still going.
Still going. So it's still going, and it's like, you know, you had surprises left and right. You had, you know, like such detail. So why do you think this one is so good?
I would say the biggest thing is like it's the Hulk, but it's the Hulk as the Hulk probably should have always been, in a way, like not necessarily like, okay, it should have been this like undead monstery thing, that,
yeah, you know, maybe
whatever,
not that dark,
whatever it is, like not like that, but just like it's dark. It's he's a monster, essentially. It's very much harkens back to that kind of like the Monster Magazine kind of vibe, yet still manages to infuse superheroes, like the superhero universe of the Marvel universe, and I think what really got me was just not just the shout outs that he's been throwing back and forth between, you know, the Peter David runs and you know, the various other people have done their spin on the Hulk, but he also takes it in a different direction, and he kind of reorganizes some things to really open the door to say, like, okay, like, if if he ended tomorrow and somebody else came in, the world's your oyster. Like, I've just cracked open, the Pandora's box here. You can do anything. Like, it's just like it's really quite interesting. The character development is interesting. Like, I can't decide whether I like reading more when Banner's talking, because Banner's even changed a little bit. It's almost like he's just kind of like given up on the way he used to be, trying to like, oh, I gotta get rid of the Hulk, and then it's like, no, I gotta control the Hulk, and now he's just like, yeah, whatever, kind of thing. Like, it is what it is.
Like, it's like the Banner aspect of it is very interesting, which I forgot to touch on when we were doing our recap. Is like he like, you could tell he's also afraid of Devil Hulk. Where he also he understands. Like, no, he doesn't like him. He understands. Like I said, he's like the one he was most afraid of and whatnot. But he also understands that, like, sometimes he's necessary. Yeah. So and especially the aspect of, like, he has to kill himself sometimes in order to activate the Hulk is just so much darker, and like just adds another level of like self-hate issues and whatnot. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like Banner. Yeah, you're right. Banner's very like, he's just like, this is very much like when Banner first became the Hulk, where again it's from the 70s TV show where it's like I'm walking away in hobo clothes and like everything's sad music and all that stuff, but like turned up to 12.
But at the same time, like there was always that spark of like with previous renditions of it, it was like, he's trying to get, like I said, he's trying to get rid of the Hulk, and then he was trying to control the Hulk, and then he was trying to like merge with the Hulk. Like there was always these, like he always had this, like there was always this silver lining in the cloud. Like, I'm gonna try. Now it just feels like he's literally been worn down so much with all the shit that's gone on that he is now just broken, and he's having some kind of a psychotic break. And it's it's interesting because it doesn't play it up in a bad way. It really does a deep dive into the psyche of someone who in the comics they've developed over the last little while, to your point, has like this multiple personality disorder, has these trauma, this childhood trauma that he's like all these things, and it just does a real good deep dive. Like it's just, there's such a good story here, while at the same time the art being just so vivid. And yes, violent at times, but just so expressionful. Like it depends on who you're looking at. But the Hulk, like I said, the Hulk's eyes and his smile just terrify the hell out of you.
Like the coloring they do as well, just to add to the darkness and whatnot. And like, I think you were very correct. Like, this is very much a throwback to like the old 60s and whatnot, where you had the Pulp Fiction and horror and all that stuff. Because if you think about it, like the way, if you look at the history of the Incredible Hulk, what it basically was I think Stan Lee made him. I'm pretty sure it was Stan Lee. What he basically said was like, you take the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and then you kind of just apply it to a superhero format, where it's like, obviously you get blasted with some sort of radiation, and then you turn into a giant Hulk when you get angry, type of thing. But like, when you look at the original story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it was supposed to be way darker and way more of a horror story, where it's like, you're by day you're living your life trying to do your best, but then by night you turn this angry psycho id driven person. And so I feel like what Stan Lee did was just kind of turn into a kid friendly, comic booky version of that. And then throughout the decades has fluctuated between how the Hulk interacts. Like you said, it's been, sometimes he's just normal, and sometimes he's a superhero, and sometimes he's on the Avengers, but then other times he's getting chased around by the Avengers and type of stuff, and it's fluctuated so much. And I feel like what Al Ewing has really done with this story is he's taking the core idea of the Hulk, reintroduced it in modern times, and then but also paid homage to all the stuff of the past, like you said, and then has also then grown with, so exactly what you were saying, like he's also grown with all those ideas, and he's like led it into the future. And I feel like this is exactly something we've said when we talked in the past about like what makes a good story and what makes a good movie and whatnot. When you cut comic books, is you have to pay homage to where it's been, but then you also have to move forward, and it's very hard to do. But you can take this as an example of something like, when it's done right, man, it's amazing. And like you said, it's also not even just it's a great comic book superhero story, it's also just a good story in general. Like, it has superhero elements, but it's also a horror book, which is something you don't see very often. And it's just so fresh and invigorating.
And if you go down the list of boxes to tick, like, does he write Banner well, and does Banner have a place in the comic? Yes. Does he write the Hulk, in his place? Yes. Oh, I like Hulk smashing things. Oh yeah, he smashes things.
Yeah.
I want Hulk to go in a different direction. Yes, he goes in a different direction. I want Hulk to have these involvement with these people, whether it's Rick Jones, whether it's Betty Ross, whether it's Thunderbolt Ross. Like, does he he brings all that past in while reforging kind of a future for where the comic goes after this. It was very refreshing, and at first, when I first saw it, it was like the Immortal Hulk. I'm like, oh, okay, he's coming out of the ground. Okay, he's like an undead dude now or something. I don't know, And I read through the first couple issues, and I was like, I wasn't sure after the first couple issues whether I liked it or not. But what I found was I couldn't stop reading it.
Yeah.
And then as I got more and more into it, I was like, this is really good. Like, this is not the my favorite Hulk has always been the Child Hulk.
Yeah.
Because I just love the fact that you just have this childlike minded person who just really wants to be left alone.
Yeah.
He wants to bounce off into the desert and just be left alone so he can calm down. But he's like the strongest being in the Marvel universe. And he gets and the more you try to take him on, the stronger he gets. Like, I just always loved that aspect of the Hulk. And this just kind of went in a completely different direction that I just didn't even think possible that I would even like, and has left me going like, oh, this is a great another Hulk persona to put along with World Breaker and Smart Hulk, Mr. Fix-It, and all the other ones.
Yeah, Devil Hulk is definitely up there. The only other in recent memory situation like this that where it's like you have a writer who really understands the character and moves it forward in a good way while still paying homage and whatnot is the Jonathan Hickman on X-Men. I feel like what Jonathan Hickman on X-Men did very similarly, where he took the decades of X-Men lore and decades of history and all the crazy stuff that's happened and really rewrapped it and retold it into a perfect for 2019 2018 2020 whenever it came out type of thing. And now you can kind of move forward with this new lore and everything's streamlined, because it's crazy to think most people, when they think of the Hulk, they just think, Hulk and Bruce Banner. But, he's been around for so long. There's so many characters that fall into the Hulk universe. He can honestly it's like how Spider-Man has his own area. Hulk can have his own area at this point. So it's nice that somebody took the time to go, hey, I'm going to streamline this for you. And now we can go forward with the whole Hulk family and do that. So it's really cool.
Yeah. I have to say, as a bit of a teaser, is as much as I read through this and I was like, oh my god, it went to hell. It was as it moved forward from there, it was okay, we deal with some it's almost like the same kind of arc that he did in the first three graphic novels. He kind of almost restarts in the sense it starts off a little bit slow, not slower, but just kind of very story developing of what's going on, and then it just takes it to the hell aspect. There's another aspect to it that just is bigger than that.
Really?
And it's just what? Where are you going?
Yeah,
with this,
where are you going?
And it's so interesting, because as he finishes these okay, so he finished hell. Okay, he's out of hell, and but was that really resolved? I don't know. This thing's obviously not done.
No.
It's a bigger being than than just that, than him just thunderclapping it away and it's gone. So I mean, it's still out there. And then he's just I'm just gonna park that on a shelf, and I'm not gonna talk about it. And they haven't brought it up or even dived into it since.
Really,
he's now gone in another direction that just completely spins it out of control, and you're just going holy crap, how much can you cram into this one character? It's so interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting, and that's the thing that's kept me reading it. Is it's just every time he starts a new, even the shorter story arcs, they're just so different and so interesting. And then you get to the end of that, and you're oh, how can you beat that? Yeah. And then he just ramps it up again, and it's really, really well done. Yeah. I think I'm on about issue 30 something.
Okay.
Just such a well done comic.
Yeah. And like we said, like also the art is amazing.
Yeah.
Like they do have a couple issues where they switch artists,
Yep.
which I mean we always like I don't know how I feel about that, but some of them it did fit. Weren't bad, they were pretty good. But yeah, once Bennett is on there, you know there's something creepy gonna happen here. Just oh yeah, give me that good stuff, type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we highly recommend go read the Immortal Hulk. It's great. I think the only reason you wouldn't read this is just if you don't like horror and you don't like body horror stuff.
And you don't like violence.
That's like the only reason you. But if you like, you're a Hulk fan. If you're a comic book fan, you should be reading the Immortal Hulk.
Yeah. It's definitely got an R rating, if that even exists anymore. It's not your typical Hulk comic.
No.
Although as you pointed out, it pays respect to it. It goes in a direction that just is so different.
Yeah.
And so well done. And, kudos to Al Ewing for taking a character that's very beloved, very liked, was never at the top. I think that probably the most popular got was probably during World War Hulk. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were big fans of Mr. Fix-It, but this just takes, like, the comic has been constantly up at the top ranks of top selling comics. It is by far one of my more favorite comics to read right now.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our review of the first part of the Immortal Hulk. Let us know what you think in the comments. You could follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube if you want to see some cool artwork and whatnot. So yeah, we'll see you all next time.
Thanks a lot.